attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The commencement ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Please take your seats and clear the aisles. During the ceremony, we ask that you not stand in the aisles or anywhere else that will block the view of others who are seated. Thank you for your cooperation. Only students and required personnel are allowed on the field.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to do that again. Good morning. My name is David Lebron, and as the president of Rice University, I would like to welcome you to Rice University's 109th commencement exercises. It is now my great pleasure to introduce a Rice graduate who is also the chair of the board of Rice University's Board of Trustees. Please join me in welcoming Robert Ladd.
Thank you, President Lebron, and good morning to all of our parents, families, friends, and alumni who are here to celebrate our remarkable class of 2022 graduates. On behalf of the Rice University Board of Trustees, many of whom are with me today, we welcome you back to our beautiful campus, and we hope you've enjoyed the festivities thus far. Also, on behalf of our Board of Trustees, I would like to extend our sincere thanks and gratitude to our faculty and administration who are behind me. And also our thanks and gratitude to all who come to Rice every day to make us such a special and unique university. And we thank Sonia for traveling so far this morning or last night to be our commencement speaker. She flew in from Los Angeles. I'd like to take a moment to recognize President Lebron for his inspiring service to this university. Today marks his 18th and final commencement that he is presiding over, second in years only to our first president. President Lebron, thank you for your visionary leadership, for always striving for our students, and for being thoughtful and kind to all. I'd like to ask everyone who is able to join me by standing and recognizing our 7th President, David Lebron, and our First Lady, Wai Ping Sun, who's right over here. Today, as we're here to celebrate our amazing graduates and their achievements, we also celebrate their family and friends who provide encouragement and support to our graduates through this past few years and challenges we have all faced. To our new graduates, we welcome you into our worldwide network of Rice alumni. You are part of a community whose pursuit of knowledge, understanding, and innovation is changing lives and creating opportunities for others. We hope you will stay close to Rice as you can make a difference for the generations of students who follow in your footsteps, just as those who preceded you have done for you. And to everyone, please enjoy this special day at Rice. Congratulations to the graduates of 2022.
Thank you, Rob, and thank all of you for that kind recognition. Commencement is a time when the entire university joins together in celebration with families and friends of our graduates. We extend a welcome to all the visitors to our campus, the parents, grandparents, siblings, partners, spouses, friends. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for lending us for some time these extraordinary graduates who have contributed so richly to our university. This is actually the first in-person all-university ceremony that we have had in 3 years, since 2019. It is great to see all of our graduating students together. We have not had that experience since then. It's wonderful to welcome back our faculty here who participate with enthusiasm and joy in sharing your joy today. And on the front row, we especially want to welcome back members of our Board of Trustees and Trustee Emeriti who are also here, the leaders of the university, to celebrate with you today. About 8 years ago, we revived a tradition at Rice to have student speakers at our commencement ceremonies. Last night at the bachelor's convocation, we heard a remarkable address from Krithika Shimada of Jones College, who was selected by her peers from across the university to speak at that ceremony. This morning, we'll hear from the past president of the Graduate Student Association, Mario Escobar. Mario is from El Salvador and served as the president of the Graduate Student Association for 2021 to 2022, advocating for graduate priorities while working closely with student staff, faculty, and administrators. He earns his bachelor's degree from Brigham Young University, Idaho in 2018, and is currently pursuing his doctorate in biochemistry and cell biology here at Rice. After finishing his degree, he aspires to become a research scientist. Join me, please, in welcoming the past president of the Graduate Student Association, Mario Escobar.
There's a Spanish proverb that says, "Cada martes tiene su domingo." This translates to every Tuesday has its Sunday, or every hard time has its ending. I haven't done the math, but I feel like last year had a little bit more Tuesdays than normal. Coming into this year, we all had expectations and visions of what the year would be like. We hoped this new year would get us back to normal. We hoped that our problems would be a thing of the past. But we got new COVID variants, new safety recommendations, new changes to our altered lifestyle. I can't tell you the number of times that we rescheduled GSA events to fulfill new guidelines. But in spite of all challenges, we lived our lives and moved ahead. We had fun events, enjoyed time with our friends and families, and made new connections. We truly used life's lemons to make lemonade. But when we were in the middle of it, it seemed like there was no end in sight. It seemed like there was no solution to any of our problems, and things were just going to suck. But we adapted, we learned, we continued to move ahead. Everything has an end. That includes the bad things we're dealing with. If we keep learning, if we keep adjusting, we can get to the end while enjoying the scenery. After your graduation, you'll be facing a lot of unfamiliar situations. You'll be trying new things for the first time. You'll be in circumstances that nobody's ever faced before. But nobody had lived or graduated through a pandemic, and yet here you are. The future is uncertain. Tomorrow could be a normal day, or it could be the worst day ever. But regardless of what it ends up being, you will overcome it and have a chance to move onwards. So face this new world with all your strength, and regardless of what happens at the end, remember, it's almost Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for those wise and uplifting words. Each year, we select a commencement speaker recommended by a committee composed primarily of students. I'm delighted with this year's commencement speaker, Sonia Nazario, and let me give you a little background on her. Pulitzer Prize-winning author and journalist Sonia Nazario is indeed an award-winning journalist whose stories have tackled some of the country's most intractable problems: hunger, drug addiction, immigration, and have won some of the most prestigious journalism and book awards. She is best known for Enrique's Journey, her story of a Honduran boy's struggle to find his mother in the United States. Published initially as a series of articles in the Los Angeles Times, Enrique's Journey won the Pulitzer Prize for feature writing in 2003. It was turned into a book by Random House and became a national bestseller. Her recent humanitarian efforts to get lawyers for unaccompanied migrant children led to her selection as the 2015 Don and Arvon Fraser Human Rights Award recipient by the Advocates for Human Rights. She was also named a 2015 Champion of Children by First Focus and a 2015 Golden Door Award winner by HIS Pennsylvania. In 2016, the American Immigration Council gave her the American Heritage Award. Also in 2016, the Houston Peace and Justice Center honored her with the National Peacemaker Award. Nazario, who grew up in Kansas and in Argentina, has written extensively from Latin America and about Latinos in the United States. In 2020, Parade magazine named her as one of the 52 most influential Latin American women in history. She has also been named among the most influential Latinos by Hispanic Business Magazine and a trendsetter by Hispanic Magazine. In 2012, Columbia Journalism Review named Nazario among, quote, 40 women who changed the media business in the past 40. In 2018, she was given the Spirit of Hope, that's Hispania's Organized for Political Equality Award. Sonia Nazario is a graduate of Williams College and has a master's degree in Latin American Studies from the University of California, Berkeley. She has honorary doctorates from Mount St. Mary's College and Whittier College. She began her career at the Wall Street Journal and later joined the Los Angeles Times, and she's now at work on her second book. Please join me in welcoming the 2022 Commencement Speaker to Rice University, Sonia Nazario.
Thank you, President Lebron. Thank you to Rice for welcoming me, and Smart Idea umbrellas. First, a bow to the parents. I'm not a parent. Honestly, I was scared by the time, effort, patience, selflessness, and love needed to do this well. Kudos go mostly to the graduates who not only learned how to ride bikes while chugging beer, streak naked disguised with some strategically placed shaving cream, but also worked hard and pulled all-nighters to obtain what my husband's longtime boss, a Rice grad, proudly proclaimed to be the best damn education anywhere. But your parents fought more than 2 decades for this day, and they deserve a heartfelt thank you. I felt giddiness tinged with terror on this day. You leave the ivory tower and see if your skills and knowledge result in a job that can pay the rent. So the one thing I hope you'll ponder today is a big ask, except, as you will see, it isn't. Fight for something that goes beyond your immediate self-interest, something that pisses you off, that you feel must change. Work in some way, big or small, within your profession or outside of it, to do something about it. I did the opposite in my 20s. I focused on my career to the exclusion of nearly everything else. I barely took time to date or maintain friendships. At 21, I was the youngest person hired by the Wall Street Journal, and I toiled in 3 cities in 5 years. I stayed out of activism as my profession, journalism, demanded. It took me decades and a winding, difficult road to see the joy in fighting for something beyond yourself. Which is odd, because I was born a rabble-rouser, a would-be activist. By age 3, my nickname was La Granuja, the troublemaker in Spanish. One of my first drawings, I was clutching 2 glasses of whiskey. When I finished one, I told my mom I'd start chugging the other. On the issue I am best known for, the rights of refugees, migrants fleeing harm, I had good cause to demand justice. My family, on both sides, have fled danger for 100 years. My dad's Christian family fled persecution in Syria in the 1920s to go to Argentina. My mom's Jewish family fled what is now Ukraine when my mom was 9 years old to go to Argentina. Family members who did not leave were gassed in Auschwitz or murdered in the Lviv ghetto. My parents left Argentina, where they had both grown up, to come to the US. This is the first day my father arrived to this country, Kansas of all places, when my father's work was threatened by increasing military control over universities in Argentina. And when I was a teenager, I lived through terror. When my dad suddenly died, I was just 13. My mom took us back to live in Argentina, just as the military was about to take power. The military launched a so-called dirty war, where they would disappear or kill 30,000 people. I lived in fear every day when I was 14 and 15. The military would roam the streets in unmarked cars, picking people up. People with beards, teachers, professors, those who advocated for social justice. They abducted my teenage sister, raped her, nearly tortured her to death, imprisoned her for 5 months. One day, walking down the streets of Buenos Aires, I saw this pool of blood on the sidewalk. My mom told me that 2 journalists had been murdered there. Why? For telling the truth about what's going on. How could you have a real democracy when people were kept in the dark? The first people authoritarians go after is anyone who provides a narrative that differs from their own. I decided that very moment, 14 years old, to become a journalist, what on our good days we are truth tellers. In college, I excelled at getting in good trouble. My college history department only taught about Japan, China, Europe, and the US, but only east of the Mississippi. I knew there was more. I had lived in whole hemispheres that were being ignored. I lobbied the history chair, and he promised that if I stood down from my planned protest, he would press for change. His lobbying launched the Latino Studies Department, which now has 5 professors. I thought the campus newspaper was a shill for the administration, so I started my own. I am a writer, but I hate writing. I got into journalism to say something, to tell stories that mattered. But that activism was rightly beaten out of me early on by the journalism profession. I was taught to exercise all preconceived ideas I had about an issue, to wade into reporting with an open mind and act as if I knew nothing, honestly, often not far from the truth, to seek truth as fairly as possible. I came to understand, even appreciate, the need for this. My opinions were often dead wrong. If sources thought I was biased, they likely wouldn't talk to me, hindering my very ability to get the story. I think readers can sniff out bias from a mile away. Readers don't like being led by the nose. And still in subtle ways, I was an activist. I chose which stories to write about, which to ignore. I wrote about social and social justice issues at the Wall Street Journal, a business newspaper. There weren't many of us doing that. I focused on those I feel don't get enough ink: women, children, the poor, Latinos. I practice immersion reporting. I take people to the front lines of an issue, inside crack houses, on top of freight trains in Mexico with migrants, and I hang out. I transport you to the front lines to tell a story, hopefully in such a compelling, emotional way, you will hopefully be moved to act. And my stories never lacked a point of view. In 1994, I wrote about hunger among school children in our country. Back then, 12 million, it's now 17 million children didn't get enough to eat. By 10 a.m., I would see this long line of children outside the nurses' station, clutching their heads and clutching their stomachs at Edgewood Middle School in West Covina, California. These kids weren't sick. They were hungry. Parents, yes, they had full-time jobs, but poverty wages were choosing food or rent. Studies show that hunger stunts learning. Lethargic kids disengage. They can't learn. A ready remedy, federally funded breakfast programs, had been barred by school officials who opposed it on philosophical grounds. Breakfast, these parents said, was a parent's responsibility, not the government's. And so I watched second grade teacher Ernie Sanchez step up. During first period, he made these cheese sandwiches. He brought children apples. He told me, quote, all of these little hands reached out to me in this crush to grab these apples. He said, I'll take that image to my grave. I never thought I would see that in America. The story included the strong point of view of conservatives, but by the end, readers understood not feeding kids breakfast was just plain stupid. It published right before Thanksgiving, and readers showed up to this school in droves with frozen turkeys in their arms. And overnight, California went from 1/3 to 2/3 of all public schools serving breakfast. Thank you. Still, I resisted direct action, even when my readers eviscerated me for not doing so. I wrote a series, Orphans of Addiction, about the 1 in 5 children in America raised by a parent addicted to drugs or alcohol. I spent weeks shadowing this 3-year-old girl, Tamika, and her heroin and crack-addicted mother to show how victimized children grow up and victimize others in this generational cycle that costs taxpayers $200 billion a year in criminal, healthcare, social program costs. Tamika's mom would leave her 24 hours at a time. The girl would go on a whole day without eating. She was often filthy. I watched mom slap her daughter hard across her face and take her into crack houses like this one. Readers ask me, why didn't I help the children in front of me? They asked, was I so intent on winning an award that I would risk the life of a 3-year-old child? They told me to shove the award I so clearly coveted in the void where my heart should be. I defended remaining a bystander. My role was to report reality, not present a reality I had altered to my readers. That meant watching neglected and miserable children to write the most powerful story that might bring systemic change, that might help more than that one child standing in front of me. It would take until my 40s for me to finally delve into activism. That's when I reported on tens of thousands of immigrant children who travel each year alone, no parent by their side, to the US from Central America and Mexico. Millions of mothers had come to the US because they couldn't feed their children more than once a day. They couldn't see their children study past the 3rd grade. They left children in Central America out of love, convinced they would soon send for them or return. But you know, life in the US is tougher than they expected, and those separations would stretch into 5, 10 years or more. Many children yearn, of course, to be with their mamas and despair and set off on their own to find them in the US. And with little or no money, they travel the only way they can, gripping onto the sides, the ends of freight trains that travel north. Children as young as 7 cross 4 countries alone, hunted all the way by this cruel cast of characters, gangsters who control the tops of those trains, bandits, corrupt cops, all of them trying to rob, rape, kill, deport them. Last year, a record 147,000 unaccompanied children were apprehended at our southern border. To tell their story, really it's a modern-day odyssey, I spent 3 months riding on top of freight trains through Mexico. A gangster tried to rape me on top of a train. I saw children lose legs, arms to that train. That journey, it changed me. By the time these children get to South Central Mexico, they've been through the heart of darkness. They've seen the very worst of humanity. But what most moved me were the people who helped them along the tracks in Veracruz. They lived in these little wood shacks. They made $1 a day. They could barely feed their own children. But when they heard that train whistle, they ran out of their humble huts with bundles of food in their arms. They would wave and smile and shout. They threw bread, tortillas, whatever fruit was in season. I had these large branches of bananas falling on my head. No food, they gave tap water. No water, they lined up with their hands in prayer as that train passed by. They all told me they helped strangers from other countries because it's the right thing. It's the Christian thing to do. They hadn't tallied the 92 references to the stranger in the Old Testament, but they knew this is what Jesus would do, seeing a need, standing in their shoes. I met a woman, this woman, who only owned a one-room shack, but she shoved 3 beds somehow into that shack, and she and her 2 children slept on 1.5 beds, and each night she allowed 3 migrants, strangers, to sleep on the other 1.5 beds. I met another woman, Maria, who was well into her hundreds, but when she heard the train whistle, she forced these gnarled hands to stuff bags with tortillas and beans and foisted them on her 70-year-old daughter, who ran down a rocky slope and heaved the bags up to those waiting hands as the train passed. Maria told me, "If I have 1 tortilla, I will give half away. I know God will bring me more." The food throwers showed me that day I had a choice. I can react to people, strangers, in need before me with fear, even hatred, or I could choose to live with an open heart. My heart opened one day sitting in an immigration courtroom. Most of these children arriving alone to the U.S. stand before that judge alone with no help. Our laws say that if you come to our border and tell us that you fear for your life and our government deems that claim credible, it triggers a process where you go to immigration court to see if you can stay in the U.S. legally or should be deported. But most children who arrive alone, they can't afford a lawyer. If you're an American and accused of, say, murder, and you can't afford a lawyer, a public defender is going to be assigned to you, but not immigrants, even children. That day in LA Immigration Court, I watched this 7-year-old boy shake like a leaf standing before that judge. He was expected to argue his own legal asylum claim. In a recent 9-month period, 70 babies were brought into court, alone, no lawyer to fight for them. Many social issues have a lot of shades of gray. This didn't. Could this sham be happening in America's courtrooms? With a lawyer, 7 in 10 children win the right to stay legally. Without one, 9 in 10 lose. And losing can mean being sent back to some of the most violent places on this earth in Central America, where 11-year-old boys like this one are forced to join gangs or killed, and pretty girls like this one are forced to be gang leaders' girlfriends or have their families exterminated by the gangs. And so enraged, I joined the board of Kids in Need of Defense, a nonprofit started by Microsoft and Angelina Jolie. And I have fought alongside my colleagues there to help recruit 50,000 pro bono lawyers across this great country to represent these children. They have an office here in Houston. Readers of my book, Enrique's Journey, many of them your age, teach me every day how to fight to make things better. They've welcomed refugees into their homes. They've built homes for single moms in Central America. They've gone on spring break to Mexico to sleep and work in migrant shelters along the tracks. Over the years, about a dozen students at various colleges have heard me speak about the need for lawyers for these kids. And they decide in that moment, sitting in the audience, I'm going to become a lawyer. They come back to another talk in another state years later and tell me, I became a lawyer. I'm representing those children you told me about. In many stories I report, there is a teacher like Ernie Sanchez and a food thrower like Maria. And far too often I find people who prefer to seethe and hate, or just as bad, those who sit on the sidelines, complacent, waiting for someone else to do something. Bystanders and upstanders. A few weeks ago, I gave a Cesar Chavez lecture at a university. Caesar was a great man, but I get mad when I hear we need to find another Caesar, one man, to lead us into the light. Instead, all of us must lead a little in whatever way we can. I still mostly wield my pen. Whenever I get my hair on fire about something, quite often, I write what my friends now call deeply reported rants in the New York Times opinion section. I remain a staunch believer in wading into an issue to figure out what is what before forming conclusions. My honest assessments have led me to press for prescriptions on the immigration issue that anger both the left and the right. But direct action is what brings me joy. And the older you get, you'll understand that joy is what we're aiming for. You're smarter than I am and won't have to wait until your 40s to figure out what comes from putting in a couple of hours a month at something you care about. Ironically, it's the selfish thing to do. As countless studies have shown, helping others helps you. It lowers your blood pressure and risk of early death, decreases depression, even makes your brain release endorphins, producing a so-called helper's high. The saliva of compassionate people contains more immunoglobulin A, the antibody that fights off infection. Doing good as part of a group, whether part of your church or to combat hunger or help migrants, refugees in your community, helps connect people in meaningful ways. And that's especially important after 2 years of isolation and at a time when it seems like meanness and anger, I mean, have you seen the road rage? Punching people on airplanes seems to be endemic. Helping reminds you to stay grateful. Seeing people you help in person makes it harder to otherize them. It's tough to buy that all migrants are rapists and criminals when you actually meet some of them. Unfortunately, per the University of Maryland's Do Good Institute, this has all been on a slow, steady decline during your lifetimes. Nearly 29% of those 16 and older volunteered in the early 2000s, but now it's below 25%, and people in their 20s are least likely to volunteer. I get that you will be scraping to save that first home, find your life partner, excel at your career. But as you leave here today, that awesome diploma in hand, I hope you ask yourself, what would you like to see change? Gets your blood boiling. How can the skills and critical thinking you gained at Rice help you figure this out? Gen Z is the cause generation, so you got this, right? Go to a school, a prison, an animal shelter, a voting booth, a homeless shelter. If those poor people in Mexico can do it, I know you can find half a tortilla and give it away. Felicidades y adelante. Gracias.
Thank you, Sonia, for reminding us so well that our world does indeed need all of you, and all of you can make a difference in it. Additionally, thank you for the kind words about lawyers. I don't hear those so often. I didn't know there was a lawyer section over there. I now have the pleasure, and this is so appropriate, for recognizing one student for his service to the university. The Sallyport Award is given to the undergraduate or graduate candidate who show great promise in carrying forth the mission of the Association of Rice Alumni upon graduation. This year's awardee is Mason Reese of Hanson College. While at Rice, Mason has worked to eliminate barriers to youth voting, particularly in marginalized communities, and to rekindle generational belief in the power of voting and democracy. For the 2020 election, Mason was elected precinct chair and became the first student presiding judge at the Rice polling location, recruiting and leading a team of student poll workers to serve over 13,000 voters. As president of Civic Duty Rice and a member of the Rice Engaged Coalition, Mason brought together Rice administrators, student groups, and the broader Houston community to ensure our voting system served everyone. He also served as the main organizer of the 2021 Houston Youth Voters Conference to give a platform for young leaders around the city to discuss their unique perspectives and work. As part of his political science and social policy analysis studies, Mason completed research on Harris County's election systems to support our local election administrator and help ensure there were safety protocols and innovating voting methods across the county for elections during COVID-19. Although Mason will not be completing his doctorate in political science in Houston, he'll surely be back for many events in the future, including Beer Bike. I've had the chance to work directly with Mason. He is indeed a remarkable young man. Mason, please stand and be recognized. The 109th Plenary Commencement ceremony marks the completion of the 21-22 academic year. Although we are here to honor the graduates who will be receiving their degrees today, commencement also marks an opportunity to recognize the distinguished faculty, staff, and alumni who have given extraordinary service to this university. In your programs are printed the names of those who were selected this year for teaching awards, those named by the colleges, the Student Association, and Graduate Student Association as recipients of their awards, and those named by the Association of Rice Alumni. In addition, 11 Rice faculty will retire at the end of this academic year, along with 56 members of our staff. Their names also are listed in the program. Let us applaud them for their devoted and honorable service to this university. Finally, I want to commend the classes of 2022 for their commitment to Rice. Our graduate students, our undergraduates, first, you have all shown remarkable leadership and commitment to each other in getting us through these difficult last 2 years, and all of us are grateful for that. Over the past academic year, and particularly throughout a month-long campaign in the spring, senior volunteers representing their colleges also raised gifts for the Rice Annual Fund and other areas of campus. From 41% of our graduating seniors thanked all of you who participated in that effort for demonstrating early on your support for the university. The next pages of my script refer to the rain plan. There is no sun plan, but our staff has been working hard to periodically bring in the clouds, and let's hope that continues. And now, we will proceed to the conferring of the degrees an act that truly defines our basic mission as an academic enterprise. The candidates for the various advanced degrees will be presented by Dr. Seiichi Matsuda, Dean of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies of Rice University.
The degree of Doctor of Philosophy is awarded to those students who have successfully completed a rigorous course of study and research and have made original contributions to their fields of knowledge, resulting in a thesis that has been defended successfully in public. The degree of Doctor of Musical Arts is awarded to those students who have successfully completed required performances or original compositions and a rigorous course of study and research, resulting in a thesis that has been defended successfully in public. Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Musical Arts please rise? Mr. President, these candidates and others whose names will appear on the registrar's official list have fulfilled all of the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy or Doctor of Musical Arts and have been recommended by the faculty to the Board of Trustees for these degrees.
It is customary at each Rice commencement to ask the entire assembly to rise while doctorate degrees are conferred. So will all those who are able, please rise as we confer the doctoral degrees. Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, you have committed yourselves to the high calling of scholarship and research, and you have made important contributions to new frontiers of knowledge and information and creativity. Candidates for the degree of Doctor of Musical Arts, you have distinguished yourselves in scholarship and research and in musical performances or composition at the highest level. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Rice University, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy or Doctor of Musical Arts and admit you to all the rights, responsibilities, and privileges appropriate to those degrees. Congratulations to all our new doctors.
Please be seated. The Master of Arts and Master of Science degrees are post-baccalaureate degrees in specific fields and require substantial specialized study beyond the baccalaureate degree, and in some cases, a thesis. The professional master's degrees are post-baccalaureate degrees in various professional areas. The Artist Diploma in Music is awarded at the completion of a course of study beyond the master's degree. The curriculum prepares students for a career focused on performance at the highest levels. The Diploma in Liberal Studies is awarded at the completion of a substantial course of study beyond the master's degree. It extends the interdisciplinary goals of the Master of Liberal Studies program. The Bachelor of Architecture degree represents post-baccalaureate work in an accredited program leading to architectural licensure. It is a culmination of a 6-year program that includes a year-long internship in offices all over the world. Will the candidates for the Artist Diploma in Music, the Diploma in Liberal Studies, the Bachelor of Architecture, the Master of Arts, the Master of Science, and the various professional master's degrees please rise? Mr. President, these candidates and others whose names will appear on the registrar's official list have fulfilled all the requirements for the advanced and master's degree and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Rice University, I confer upon those of you whose names will appear on the official registrar's list the degrees of Artist Diploma in Music, the Diploma in Liberal Studies, the Bachelor of Architecture, the Master of Arts, the Master of Science, and the various professional master's degrees, and admit you to all the rights, responsibilities, and privileges appropriate to those degrees. Congratulations to all the new recipients of the class of 2022 of our master's degrees. Please be seated. Now, the candidates for the various bachelor's degrees will be presented by Dr. Bridget Gorman, Dean of Undergraduates, and the Magisters of the residential colleges.
The Bachelor of Arts degree marks the completion of a program of liberal undergraduate education in the arts and sciences. The Bachelor of Science degrees mark the completion of an undergraduate program of liberal education combined with science or engineering. The Bachelor of Music degree marks the completion of a program of professional or liberal undergraduate education in music. Professor Luis Duno Gottberg, Magister of Baker College, will present the degree candidates from Baker College.
Will the candidates for the degrees Bachelors of Arts, Bachelors of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Baker College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Matthew Bennett, Magister of Will Rice College, will present the candidates from Will Rice College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Will Rice College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirement for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Lopez Duran, Magister of Hanson College, will present the candidates from Hanson College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Art, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Hanson College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Flavio Cunha, Magister of Will Rice College, will present the candidates from Weiss College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Weiss College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Jason Hafner, Magister of Jones College, will present the candidates from Jones College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Jones College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. B.J. Fregley, Magister of Brown College, will present the candidates from Brown College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Brown College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Michael Gustin, Magister of Lubbock College, will present the candidates from Lubbock College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Lubbock College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Michael Ishard, Dr. Michelle Ishard, Magister of Sid Richardson College, will present the candidates from Sid Richardson College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Sid Richardson College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Daniel Dominguez de Silva, Magister of Martell College, will present the candidates from Martell College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Martell College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees to these degrees.
Dr. Jennifer Bratter, Magister of McMurtry College, will present the candidates from McMurtry College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Music from McMurtry College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Dr. Eden King, Magister of Duncan College, will present the candidates from Duncan College.
Will the candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and Bachelor of Music from Duncan College please rise? Mr. President, these candidates have fulfilled the requirements for the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, or Bachelor of Music, and have been recommended by the faculty to the trustees for these degrees.
Just going to make you wait a little bit longer for those degrees. Upon the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Rice University, I confer upon these candidates whose names will appear on the registrar's official list the Bachelor of Arts degree, the Bachelor of Science degree, and the Bachelor of Music degree, and admit you to all the rights, responsibilities, and privileges appropriate to those degrees. Congratulations to the undergraduate class of 2022. You can be seated. I extend our congratulations to our graduates, their families, friends, and guests. We wish all of you great success and thank you for the extraordinary contributions you have made during your time here. As you have heard, this is my 18th and final commencement. So it is, in a sense, also my own commencement. And especially with the sun returning, I do not intend to give a speech, but I do want to acknowledge the occasion, which is moving and important for Ping and myself. And mostly I want to just thank all of you. This is the last time I will have an assemblage of such different parts of the university. To our extraordinary students, graduate and undergraduate, thank you. You have been a constant inspiration during these years. I ask only that you never underestimate what you can achieve. And to our remarkable faculty for showing us constantly that the world can indeed be changed through advancement of learning and of knowledge. And to our dedicated staff who make possible everything that we do as both students and faculty. Universities are extraordinarily complicated institutions, but in some sense they are also very simple institutions. We are very simply in the business of creating new possibilities for our students and new possibilities for our world. So I want to kind of end by quoting our founding president, Edgar Odell Lovett. Quote, "In the faith of high adventure, in the joy of high endeavor, in the hope of high achievement," were his words when he opened this university just about 110 years ago. So indeed, let us go forth together in the faith of high adventure, in the joy of high achievement. Sorry. Let us go forward together in the faith of high adventure, in the joy of high endeavor, in the hope of high achievement, to make progress for all peoples in our world. Ping and I thank all of you from the bottom of our hearts for these last remarkable 18 years. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I would tell you all to be seated, but the next words on my script is, please rise now for the singing of Rice's alma mater. The words can be found in your program. And following the alma mater, we ask that the audience please remain seated until the graduates have processed up the north ramp behind me, after which you can exit the stadium via the south gates in front of me and proceed to the designated area just east of the stadium to meet your students. Once more, congratulations to the remarkable classes of 2022. You have inspired us, you have given us joy, you have given us hope. Go forth and change the world. Thank you.